Batwoman, episode 7, Pick Your Poison. This is your boy Icon with some DC TV, and this is the mid-season finale of Batwoman. We don't get any Batwoman episodes until January the 12th, so we got a good month and a half break. So, yeah, I'll definitely be getting caught up on my reviews until that time takes place. But this episode actually starts with some family betrayal. You know, because Marcus and Ryan, they had agreed to do the whole brother-sister thing, trying to team up against their mom, you know, so they can build big business together. But there's also the problem with Mary, you know, with Mary slowly becoming like Poison Ivy and the Poison Ivy thing taking over. So Ryan basically sells her brother out. You know, she meets up with him in a parking garage, and then while she meets up with him, you know, like her mom comes out of nowhere, her med team shows up, like tranks him, you know, like puts him out and takes him away. Because like her mom said, like she's trying to freeze him so she can come up with a cure for him to cure like his brain issue that he had when he got buzzed by the Joker. But because Ryan was able to secure him for her, she's now going to, like she said, you took care of your family, so now your family's going to take care of you. So they talk about the whole thing with Mary. You know, they get a sample of Mary's blood. Ryan had a sample of Mary's blood. She gives it to, you know, to Jada, and Jada gave it to her medical team, who's now going to come up with a cure to try to save Mary. So now we're in a situation where, you know, like Marcus, like, you know, he's strapped up at the table, he's being frozen, you know, he's trying to, like, you know, plead to his mom. He's like, Mom, I'm sorry for all. And that was a good acting job, like, I'm not gonna lie, you know. He actually had me fooled for a second. He was like, please, Mama, don't do it. And, you know, and then she was like, I'm sorry, baby. She's like, I gotta do what I gotta do. And then I guess she leaned over to give him a hug, and then he jumped up out of nowhere, snatched her up, put the rope around her neck, and then, you know, had her pinned down. And by that time, Med Team had already come up with the cure to give to Mary. And when Jada was talking to one of the scientists, she had made a reference, and then she was just like, she was like, how's the cure coming? And then the girl, she was like, you know, we've almost got it. You know, we have it synthesized. You know, it's ready to go. And then she was just like, it's very interesting. And then the woman said, she said, yes, we haven't seen a plant-based virus like this since Swamp Thing. And I was like, shout out to the green. Like, hashtag save Swamp Thing, bring back Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing is alive in the Arrowverse. You know, so I said, so Jada, you know, like, but then because of that, because they had the synthesized antidote for Mary, when Marcus had tied his mom up, he went over to the lab and he actually took the antidote, you know, that they had for Mary, and then he dipped and he left the facility. The Bat Team now, they're on the search. They're trying to find Mary because, you know, she ran off with Poison Ivy in the last episode. Sophie woke up, you know, in the wrong side of the sheets this morning. She woke up in Montoya's bed because her and Montoya was getting it on, and then because of that, she wasn't at the house for Alice, which is why Alice dipped and was able to link up with Mary. Sophie sees a news report that talks about, you know, like Poison Ivy could potentially be back in Gotham City, and then she goes down to Wayne Tower, and then she's like, Poison Ivy is, you know, Poison Ivy's Mary, and then, you know, they were just like, yeah, you know, it's like unfortunate, but she's not really Poison Ivy. She's just making like a weird transition, but, you know, we're gonna save her. We're gonna save Mary. And then that's when Ryan was just like, yeah, she was like, I got Jada working on the cure for her, and then, you know, like Sophie gave her the side eye, and then everybody was like, yo, what happened to Alice? And then Sophie was like, well, I wasn't home last night. And then Ryan gave her the look, and then, you know, they went downstairs and they went to go track Alice because, you know, Alice still has the nanites in her. When Mary woke up, she was with Alice, and the two of them were in an RV because the transformation between Poison Mary and regular Mary, it happens every 12 hours. She's Poison Mary during the day when the sun is out, but then when the sun goes down and the sunlight goes away, then she becomes regular Mary again. So because the sun was down, she woke up, you know, in the mobile home. She was talking to Alice, and then, you know, she was just like, oh, I gotta call Luke and, you know, and Ryan, and then she was like, why? So they can lock you in Arkham. And although the two of them had a very nice, warm, heart-to-heart stepsister conversation, like, Alice clearly manipulated her into thinking that Ryan and Luke would lock her up, you know, just so she could stay with her. And it worked, you know, like Mary fell for it. I actually can't see, but like, I guess it was easy for Mary to fall for it because she already felt some kind of way about the two of them anyway, because she felt that she wasn't being listened to and she wasn't being heard. So she fell for that. And then she decided to stick with Alice, but Alice said, well, listen, she was like, you know, like, I still got these nanites in my system, so we need to get rid of the nanites, because if we don't get rid of the nanites, then eventually the GCPD will find me, and if they find me, they'll find you, because you done already almost killed Luke, you almost already killed Ryan, you're a fugitive now, and to keep you, you know, from getting locked up and to keep me from getting locked up, you know, she was just like, yo, we got to get these nanites out of my system. And then, you know, Mary was just like, oh, but if I do that, you'll go free. And then she was like, you got to pick your poison, haha. And so what they did was, you know, they ended up like taking some blood out of her system, and, you know, that had nanites in it, and they splattered it all over different cars. So when Luke tried to pin the nanites on Alice, the pins showed up like randomly, like 20 different pins all over the city. Ryan and Sophie got in the Batmobile. They were pulling people over. They were trying to find people. It wasn't working, like they couldn't find anybody. And then Ryan and Sophie got into it a little bit because like she had mentioned Montoya, and then because Sophie had said, she was like, if I would have known Mary was Poison Ivy, I would have said something, because like I spoke to Montoya, and Montoya has it out for her. And then that's when Ryan was like, oh, so Montoya was the reason, that was the bed you slept in last night. And then she was like, Sophie was like, I'm sorry, I didn't think I had to tell you who I'm sleeping with. And then she was like, oh, you're sleeping with somebody that's blackmailing me and threatening to lock me up and put me in prison. But then I'm like, hold up, but you're working with somebody that almost had Sophie's sister killed. So the two of you are basically guilty of the same crime here, but it's really just like internal, like the two of them got the hots for each other, it's like, but that's why all this internal shit, like the jealousy and everything, is coming, but it is what it is. So then after that, then Luke ended up getting a ping, and he was just like, hey, I may have something, like I need everybody to come back. So the two of them got in the car and they went back to Wayne. He ends up telling them about the Jada Jet situation. So they go down to the facility, they help Jada up, and then that's when Jada had revealed, she was like, like Marcus did this, like, he got up and then he's crazy, and then, but then she asked, they was like, but what about the Mary cure? And then they find out, well, the doctor that made the cure, she did. And then, they find out Marcus ended up taking the cure. Marcus, who ended up showing up at Wayne Enterprises. While Luke was there, he was talking to Luke. Luke walked in. Luke still got his arm in the sling because, remember he had his rotator cuff torn when he fought Mary. And then Marcus and Luke get into it. They start fighting. Luke actually did a good job. Because a lot of people were getting on Luke because they were saying that when he put the Batwing costume on, they said that he didn't have the proper training, and he wasn't fit to be a superhero or to wear the costume, despite the fact that in season 1 of Batwoman, he was practicing his boxing skills, and I kept telling y'all that he was practicing his boxing skills, so the boy know what he doing. But like he fought him a little bit, but because he was basically fighting with one arm, like Marcus beat him up, knocked him out. Like after he knocked him out, Ryan showed up, like she came to speak to Marcus to try to stop Marcus from hurting Luke. And then, Marcus was just like, oh, I got the antidote. And then, like Ryan apologized. She was like, I'm sorry. She's like, I know you want your revenge because I turned on you. And then he was like, bitch, ain't nobody thinking about you. And he was like, it's not even like that. So then she said, well, if you're not here to get your revenge, she was like, why are you here? He was like, basically, you sold me out for this, like this antidote. And he's like, I don't know what it's for. I just know you need it before the sun comes up, because if they don't give it to Mary before the sun comes up, she's going to turn back into Poison Ivy. So he was just like, oh, he said, I want you to sign your name on the dotted line, signing over your CEO-ship of Wayne to me. And then once I become the new head of Wayne Enterprises, then I'll give you the vial back. So then Ryan, obviously Ryan wanted to save Mary, so she signed on the dotted line. She turned Wayne Enterprises over to Marcus, which is crazy. I'm like, Bruce Wayne has to show up at some point, because he's like, yo, you're fucking up my company. It's like, you're ruining my legacy. You're fucking up my daddy legacy, my mama legacy. You're running Gotham into the shit. It's like, Bruce Wayne has to pop up at some point just to salvage all this foolishness. But Ryan signed over the company. Marcus gave her the antidote, and then then that's when Ryan told him, she was like, I wish I could have got to know you before the Joker turned you into the person that he turned you into. Then after that, Ryan hits the streets because now she's looking for Mary. Sophie, she's with Luke, like she's helping Luke like patch up his wounds, because like he had the rib problem, he had the arm problem, she's putting the bandages on him. And then like Luke said that he felt bad because he let Mary down. And then Sophie said she was just like, well, I'm the reason why Alice escaped, because I was too busy messing with Montoya. And then the two of them were basically trading guilt back and forth. And then that's when Luke got the idea, because Sophie had said something about a coffee shop. Luke had got the idea because he was just like, yo, that's how we find Mary, because they couldn't find Mary by tracking Alice, because by then Alice had already gotten rid of the nanites, because Mary and Alice together, they were in bars trying to find people to have Alice's blood type, the O negative blood, so they can do the blood transfusion and get the nanites out of Alice's system. So that worked. They got the nanites out of Alice's system, and then the two of them kind of bonded a little bit, because Mary even said, she was just like, although you killed my mom, like you poisoned me, and you're the reason why like a lot of us are in the situations that we're in now. She was just like, Kate would have never did this for me. And then Alice was like, Kate never would have did this for me either. And then Mary was just like, you said, I wanted you out of my life for so long, but she was like, now I don't want you gone. And I was like, yeah, because you don't have anybody else now, because you pretty much pushed everybody else away. So the two of them bonded. There was some funny scenes with them trying to find guys and trying to, like get guys so they can get their blood. Mary now has new power, like her hypnosis power, like like putting people under her trance kicked in. So now her eyes light up green and she can control people's minds and control people's thoughts. So they give Alice the blood transfusion, and then they hit the road going God knows where. Luke had got the idea because he said if there's one thing that Mary Hamilton always needs, it's coffee, because she's a doctor. And even then, when Mary was doing the blood transfusion for Alice, she had coffee with her. She had like an iced latte or something with her. So then Luke ended up like tracking that, like he pinned that because Mary used her rewards card, like her points card, in order to get the coffee. And then they said that she was right outside of Metropolis, which I thought was very interesting. So Batwoman goes down there to try to, like intercept Mary. She finds Mary. They find Alice. She pulls them both over the side of the road. And then she tells Mary, she's like, we got the antidote. Like, we're here to save you. And then Mary was just like, but who said I wanted to be saved? She was like, anybody thinking about Giles? She's like, anybody thinking about Luke? She said, I'm my own person now. She's like, I'm going to do what I want to do. And there's nothing you can do about it. She was like, I don't need saving, because by then, like the poison ivy, I think had kicked in at that point. Or like Ryan said to Sophie, Mary just flat out gave up on them because Alice got into her head, and Alice convinced her that she doesn't need them anymore. So when Ryan tried to give her the antidote, it didn't work. Like, Mary didn't want to take it, and she told Ryan, she was like, leave me alone, and stop following me. And then she even she took the antidote that that they gave, and she crushed it, and she shattered it into a million pieces, and she broke the antidote. As soon as she broke the antidote, I was just kind of like, so basically you signed over the company for nothing. And if I was Ryan, I never would have did that shit to begin with, because it's not like they couldn't make another antidote. So that was just poor. That was just a very poor choice. There was really no reason for Ryan to actually give up Wayne Enterprises, and plus it wasn't even hers to give. So that whole thing, and it's like now we got two situations, because on the Flash, Team Flash got kicked out of Star Labs, and now on Batwoman, the Bat Team got kicked out of Wayne Tower, because now that Marcus has taken over, he changed all the security clearances, and now they all can't get in. So now everybody's feeling the loss, they're feeling the betrayal, but they're trying to figure out what the next steps are. Like Ryan even apologized to Luke for for turning over Wayne Enterprises for nothing, and I guess now they're all going to work out of Luke's house. I don't know where they're going to go now, but they got to figure something out. Marcus ended up doing a news conference, like a news report, where he announced that he was the new CEO of Gotham, and then we were gonna have fun, we're gonna have a good old time. And then he even made a Joker line, because he was like, if the Joker's so bad, why is he the only person in the city that's having fun? And then after that, like in the final scene, Alice and Mary were both where they were in a hotel together. And then, Alice had just woke up, and then she was talking about how she wanted to get some food. And then Mary came out of the bathroom, and now she's full-blown Poison Ivy. She got the red hair. She got the green suit. I didn't realize how thin Mary actually was. Like, that surprised me, because she's always usually wearing, these little dresses and these tiny skirts and everything. She always wears, little cute outfits. I didn't realize how thin that woman actually really was, but she looked good in the Poison Ivy costume. Like, she looks good as a redhead. She definitely looks good as a redhead. I like the look on her. And I said the suit looked good, so it's just a shame that she's not actually going to be Poison Ivy, because the actual Poison Ivy is coming back at some point. But we'll take Mary in the suit now, as long as we can get it. And then Mary looked over at the TV, where she saw Marcus on TV talking about the Wayne Enterprises takeover. And then she was just like, oh, I'm in Gotham, looking for some fun. And then when she saw him, she was like, oh, he looks like he'll be a lot of fun. And that's how the episode ended. Thank you for tuning in. So it looks like we're going to get a 3-person team up now, because we got Crazy Marcus, who's basically like the Joker, Poison Mary, who's Poison Ivy, and then I guess Alice is playing the role of Harley Quinn. I don't know, but it looks like the three of them are going to team up now, and they're going to do whatever it is they're going to do and take over the streets of Gotham. So, and that'll be interesting. That'll be very entertaining. I kind of want to see what the Bat family is going to do now that they don't have access to Wayne Enterprises. Because the thing is, and I keep saying this, and I keep harping on this, and I'm waiting for somebody to bring this up. The headquarters that they're working out of in Wayne Tower, that's not the Batcave. It bothers me that they keep calling it the Batcave, but I don't hold that against the characters, because like Ryan, Mary, and probably Luke, most likely Luke, they don't realize the actual Batcave is under Wayne Manor, and this little makeshift Batcave inside Wayne Enterprises, that's just a temporary thing he built, so he can turn into Batman when he's at work. There is an actual Batcave, and I really wish we'd bring this up. That'd be a perfect place for them to go now that they don't have access to Wayne Tower anymore. But like I said, but we'll see. Share your thoughts, you know, your questions, your concerns, and we'll talk about it. Hit me up on Twitter, hit me up on Instagram, as always, on YouTube. Check out my other videos because we got Hawkeye, you know, we got Hawkeye episode 2 coming up, episode 3 coming up. We're still doing Young Justice. We're about to start the next chapter of Young Justice because the first 8 episodes are out of the gate, and now we're about to get the next few. Like I said, and we're also doing, well, Legends of Tomorrow is on hiatus. Batwoman's on hiatus, but we still got the Flash Armageddon crossover. And also share your thoughts. Let me know what's going on with Batwoman now. The whole thing is like, are you excited for Mary? Do you like the Mary transition? Do you like her being Poison Mary? How long do you think it'll last? You know, the whole thing with Ryan and Sophie, will they, won't they? And how long does Luke's arm stay in the, you know, in the sling until they finally have the money in the budget for him to put the Batwing costume back on again? So I will see you guys in January, mid-January, when Batwoman returns. We are going on a bat break, but we will be back. Check out Ryan Wilder in the Armageddon crossover, episodes 3, 4, and 5. And like I said, once Batwoman returns in mid-January, we'll be back. So if you don't check out my other videos, please do check out if you want to keep talking to me and keep interacting with me. But for you Batwoman fans, I'll see you in the next year, 2022. So until then, take care, and I'm out this bitch.